What am I supposed to do with this? Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, okay. Oh. Ah, he fell. Drop item L2 to use item. How do I pick it up? Ah! Drop item L2. How the fuck do I pick it up in the first place? You dumbass. Okay, game. Really? Alright, we don't need a potions anyway. Teach me how to fucking drop it, but I forgot to teach me how to fucking... Okay. What? What would I want this? Huh? Oh shit. Slime. Oh my god. Spell? Yeah, you got the Alt F4 medieval theme going on. Even with it, it's still easy to combat. Already target. Ooh, Dark Sword. Very big wind up. Nice. First try, baby! Oh, Brave Knight, gentle. I'm up here. Oh man, do I really want to save this princess? I don't know. I'm not into kobold. Like, you know, I'm just being honest here, chat. How the fuck am I supposed to pick up an item? Teach me how. Oh, R1. Okay. There's no UI for it. I had to guess. Budget Godskin Apostle. Okay, dude. Okay, what? What's the interact button? Oh my god, R1 again. You have my deepest thanks for freeing me, gentle knight. I'm so glad you rescued me. I'm the kobold princess, definitely not a regular kobold with a wig, but a true princess. Of course, you can recognize a princess on plain sight. And of course, rescuing the princess grants you a token that you could exchange with a worthy smith for a permanent upgrade. As you're the first one to come this far, let me explain to you how the true princess magic works. For a game, you would be locking the wooden dummy and pressing the princess power button. What wood? Oh. Whoa! Now go forth, my hero. I can't wait to skip this dungeon and marry you. Okay, I don't know about that one. Oh yeah, by the way, the controller application you bought, did you try it? Is it good or meh? I was actually using it before they sell it on the fucking Steam. So I was actually been using it before, because if you have a PS5, it's very beneficial. It's basically some games can have the PS5 feature simulated in the PC. So the adaptive trigger and the right, the triggers can be simulated in some games. but not much right now. Right now it's only Forza. I forgot. There's a game. There's a list for it. You can do it manually, but I don't care. The fuck? Oh shit. I'm a different guy now. Been lifting this rock for ages. Nice. Greeting fellow knight, welcome to the dragon's castle. Oh, mountains of loot, lots of princess, can't danger, blah blah blah. I was gonna look for that. Okay. The fuck is this place? The fuck are you? Vitruvius. My greatest lost knight on Vitruvius, the scholar of the dungeon. I've been studying this place for ages. I didn't really say that I know some secret things that can be seen. She'll fit to survive in the next meeting. I'll be more than glad to share some of my knowledge with you. Oh. Okay. I'm down for Goblin and Cobalt waifu, but that ain't either of those. That's one of them, man. What do you mean? Oh shit! You actually can go on fire. Realistic. Where are you going to rescue if you're alone? Come back with a princess. I'm sure there's some interesting rescue around here. Okay, man, chill. Can you just dead zone there? If basic things settings is bad? I'm gonna be honest, I haven't checked. I never really set dead zone in games other than Rocket League. So most of the time I didn't bother. I'm gonna check it out later if you want. Will she? Will she? Hopefully, it should be. It should have it, honestly. Shop there? The fuck do you? Shop who? Oh, this. Alright, Gentle Knight, I'm sure you did not love but you're gonna rescue me, didn't you? Rescue. Can't wait to see cool things will do for me, my dear knight. Oh, okay. Let's see. Shit! Awesome. Can I only shoot? Oh shit! This dude is very out of place. Oh my god, the fuck? Should have dodged faster there. Fuck! Alright, I'm gonna be honest, that was okay. I'm good. Borderlands games usually have serious dead zone issues, don't you think? Don't think you played those though? I play Borderlands with mouse and keyboard, so... Usually games that I play with controllers are side-scroller platformer or racing games. Suspect, what kind of game is this? A game. That was alright. It's like a hack and slash stuff. What's up? Welcome back, Hayden. How you doing? Dude, my internet is all over the place lately. Actually, let me check first. The DSX thing. Oh motherfucker, no wonder the internet dropped. Automatically download. Huh. Oh, controller. Gyro, AXO. Shortcut, networking, touchpad. Motor string, left trigger threshold. Huh. Okay. Actually, no, it doesn't. Yeah. To be fair though, this software, basically more of a, or to simulate the PS5. That's the focus, the PS5 controller. Because the interesting about it is that, here, let me show you. Do you have PS5 or the DualShock 4? The PS4 one. Because like for example here, this is like the main feature. It's like the only reason I bought it. Vibrate trigger, like, okay. Let me show it. Okay, I just said vibrate trigger with no context. Please don't take that out of context. So here, let me show you. Actually, just hear this one. Here, controller, PS5 controller, right? Well, my camera's dog shit right now. Okay. So this, right? As you can see here, the triggers are just normal trigger like a PS4, PS5. No threshold or anything. But if I trigger this, the trigger mode, right? Trigger mode, apply. This will simulate it. See it? Like, listen. It's like shooting an SMG in Call of Duty. You guys hear that? So it can try to simulate that. It can even simulate GameCube trigger, which is pretty cool. Like, look at this. Like there's something stopping in the middle suddenly. Like a GameCube trigger. Or resistant stuff. Okay, you guys cannot probably cannot quite see this, but the button is harder to press now. So yeah, it's basically a software that try to simulate the PS5 feature without actually using a PS5. Although it basically a third party, so it's hardcore like hard input into it. It's not really supported. So right now what they do is like they make a mod so that it supports some of these games like Cyberpunk, the game. This is the devs team, I guess, make the mod for it. GTA 5. I don't know what the fuck is this. That I guess Rocket League supports. We can see if that works. I'm not too sure. Assetto Corsa, Forza, and Skyrim for some reason. They have like a simulation game. They made a game for it, but I don't think it works because I tried it before, but it didn't work at all. I guess what we can do is to try the Rocket League, I guess. But the only issue is that you cannot use this online. Oh, never mind. I need to download it. Wait, how do I download it? Hold up. Oh, it's just a setup. Nice. But yeah, it's basically what this thing's for. As in right now. So since I have a PS5 controller, it's like, you know what? Might as well. Why the hell not? Why the hell not? You know, you know. Okay. Wait. Okay, I might have installed it wrong. Wait. Okay. Huh? After following the steps, you will have DualSense. Now you need to download DualSense AT. And then what? Oh. Okay. The fuck? Am I supposed to run multiple? Load game mod. Damn, they support Euro Truck Sim. Rocket League status ready. Now the unfortunate part about this feature is that you cannot use it online just to be safe. So Rocket League is an online game, obviously, right? So what I have to do is I need to turn my Steam to offline mode. Okay, let me just put this here. I am offline mode and launch. Okay, I uninstalled Rocket League. I forgot. uh I forgot about that. I forget why did I uninstall it. Yeah, okay. In short, it basically supports some of these games and the other ones. that you saw earlier. It's a mod stuff, so it's not guaranteed gonna be like what's the developers meant to use it. But you know, it's better than nothing, I guess. So yeah. But I feel like if you have a DualShock 4, do you have a DualShock 4 or a DualSense? If you have a DualShock 4, just use hold up. There's another software for it that I used before when I used the DualShock 4. It's called DS4 Windows. That's what I use. This one. This one basically does everything you need a DualShock 4 does. You don't need anything else when you have this. It has battery status for Bluetooth. I don't know what the fuck is this. Exclusive access. You can change multiple profile. Bada bing, bada boom. You can make your own profile and shit. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of features. Supports Bluetooth. Yeah. Pretty cool, pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, uninstalled that. There's a new firmware available for your DualSense controller. Click the link below. I need to update my controller, apparently. Damn, I didn't know Steam does that. That's actually pretty cool. Look at that. Does Steam actually actively check if my controller needs to update or not? That's cool. Props, props. Gaben actually updating his shit. What a Chad, what a Chad. Steam stopped downloading games. That's nice, I know, right? Pretty handy, considering the DualShock 5 does get updated every now and then. Shit, wrong cable. Hold up. Bro, in a few months I'll get it? Yeah. I feel like, uh, after using it for a couple months now, it is not necessarily a better controller than the DualShock 4. I feel like if anything, some people would still prefer the DualShock 4 compared to the DualShock 5, DualSense. Why is my controller not detected? The fuck? I have to turn it on, I guess. Oh, there we go. Okay, it says up to date. Hello? Alright, Steam's drunk. But yeah, in terms of like which one I prefer, not gonna lie, shape wise, pretty much the PS5 one The PS4 one is slimmer than the PS5. Like, it's very obvious. It's like the PS5 one is like a Xbox, basically. Well, the PS4 one is like, well, PlayStation, the classic PlayStation shape. Handling, this will be a lot more comfortable. It's a lot more ergonomic. The handles wraps around your face, your hands very smoothly. But not gonna lie, I prefer this in terms of like, it feels a lot more. I don't know. I like how slim it is, but that's because I grew up with it. I have PlayStation since PlayStation 1. So the shape since PlayStation 1 does not change that much from this. Well, this is a huge upgrade compared to this. So, yeah. That's how I am with it. I actually have the controller, the old controller over here. $70 for me, how much for you? So pretty much the same. So when I said it's not much of a different from the old one, this is PlayStation 3. My old PlayStation 3, as you can see, is very identical. Just like it's a much modern take of the PlayStation. PS3 and PS2 exactly have exactly the same controller, and PS1 as well, except that the addition of the analog stick. But other than that, pretty much the same. Like the only changes is that the button's much narrower, the body's a lot slimmer, and I guess the analog is concave now. Just the better modern analog. Well, the old analog is a straight around, and it caves out pretty fast. Now, sure, PS1. I unfortunately that's in Bali. That's in my parents' place. I didn't bring that with me because that one was in the ancient corner of my warehouse, my parents' warehouse. Although I do have the one older generation. Ta-da! Hold up. Hello. There we go. Ta-da! Yes, it still wraps around. This is the most ancient technology in my room right now. It has fucking, I don't fucking know how many meters the cable is. I use this controller. This is the exact controller that I have. The classic PlayStation 2 controller. The DualShock 2. Now I remember. The difference between DualShock 2 and DualShock 3 is that the material of the plastic's a little bit different, and DualShock 2 still have the button for the trigger. It's not a trigger. So R1 and R2 is both button, but in PlayStation 3, the R1 is button, but the R2 is trigger. So that's the only difference. But other than that, it's pretty much identical. Yeah. Very impressive. Because although I do notice, the fucking handle is so small, dude. Look at this. This handle, and this is my hand trying to wrap around it. It's It's so small. It only fits like this 2 fingers. Like my pinky is hovering. Compared to the DualSense, I can fit my whole fucking hand. It's like hugging the controller. So that's a significantly good upgrade. And the shape, holy fuck. That's crazy. If that's ancient to you, don't want to see the average Hungarian storage? Well, in my room, I'm not talking about storage. I have a small apartment room, and I don't bring a lot of stuff from my childhood. The only reason I had this too is that I used to play with DualShock 3. Like I played Rocket League with this, by the way. I played Rocket League with this. I didn't upgrade to DualShock 4 until like what 2018, 2019? I think 2018 I bought the DualShock 4. But until that, I was still using this until like look at the analog. Butchered up. I don't know if it's still on though. I think it's dead. I don't know if I like the white. I understand. But I don't know why either aesthetically they go for white compared to their classic black looks since PS1. Where PS1 have beige. The beige, I guess, the name. Which is this color, I guess. This is silver. It is close to beige. Beige. They only go with the black for PS2 and PS3. And then they go for this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it either. Like, look. It already left, like, very tiny marks here. It's very obviously gonna get dirty pretty fast, but I try to clean it up every now and then. Just to make sure, but not gonna lie. It feels nice. Compared to this, this is a lot more comfortable. You're gonna get tired fast with this, but it's a lot slimmer, it's a lot lighter than this. And the trigger in this one is really good. It doesn't feel cheap at all. In this one, it feels basic. Like it just worked. The R1 is so bad in PS4. I'm gonna be honest. It's probably the shittiest button in a controller ever. I don't know why this is a thing. But this one is good. You can actually feel the tactile. But not gonna lie, if there is like a black edition for this, which I think there is now, when I bought this, the colored version is not here yet. But I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all, gotta be honest. Although yeah, it's gonna get dirty and the white gonna turns yellow in like 5 years. But by the time there's probably gonna be a PS6 with DualSense 2 or something. So I don't mind. But yeah, that's my take on it. The black ones look sexy. I prefer the white looks way more detailed with the black details. The black just too simple. The only I don't mind the colors. The only reason I don't like white is because I don't take care of my stuff that well. And having a white controller, it's gonna look dirty really fast for me. I'm the type of guy that after I'm done with something, I'm gonna throw it on the bed. I'm gonna throw it on the table, like you know. I'm not really tidy. Like I'm done. It's just like, you know, like I don't like. And give it a kiss goodnight. Like, no. Almost face reveal there. But yeah. I don't necessarily wear or use things in white color because I, in general, I just don't give a shit about taking care of them that much. I play skateboard for 5 years. Figure that out. But yeah. I have like 7 colors here. Jeez. DualSense sounds like a VR sex toy. You know what? That's actually true. There's actually a sex toy that's called that have a sense name in it. How do I know that? All right. Anyways, by the way, for anyone's buying, this is pretty important. What is this? If you pay PS controller says this, return it. FCC ID. I bet this is a US thing. Yeah, I don't have an FCC ID. Yeah, I don't know. Should I watch the video?
In this video, I'm going to share with you a very useful tip when it comes to purchasing a new PS. There's one thing that you should know. The original PS5 controller, then you're familiar with the common issues that can happen over time with PS5 controllers. In fact, a durability invests in their controller every couple of years. But if you want your next controller to read as a bunch of random numbers and capital letters, but look closely and focus your attention to the very end of the ID itself. If you see the number 1, your controller is more susceptible to experience issues like stick drift and loose triggers in the long.
What if I don't have FCC ID? This is like clearly a US thingy. Or EU, I guess. Because mine doesn't have an FCC ID.
Long term. But if you see the letter A, then this means you are actually less likely to experience these issues. And
look. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay. I get the idea of, I don't need the explanation. Basically, the older models have prone to more hardware issue than the newer one. Easy peasy.
The reason why is because recently Sony made a few mechanical improvements to the newly built DualSense controllers, specifically to the thumbsticks and the adaptive triggers. And the easiest way to tell if your new controller has these improvements built in without completely taking it apart is to simply look at the FCC ID. If you see the letter A at the end of the ID, then your controller has the improved thumbsticks and triggers. But if it says the number 1, you might want to consider returning it, as these controllers are made with the original parts and do not have the mechanical improvements. A way to guarantee that your next controller will have the new improvements is to purchase a DualSense controller from the Galaxy collection. Look for Starlight Blue, Galactic Purple, or Nova Pink as all these controller, and look for the letter
CFIZCT1W, CFIZCT1G. Instead of W, I have G. I don't know what that means. CF. Wait a minute. No, yeah. CFI CCT1G. Okay. Wait, you can actually find DualSense World Controller? Oh, there's a model number. Wait, what? There's a manual book for it.
A at the end of the ID. It's a sign that your controller will hold up much better in the long term. But now you know exactly what to check after purchasing a new PlayStation 5 controller and how to make sure it'll last as long as possible. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you found it useful or at least interesting, and if you did, make sure to leave.
Okay. Alternatively, look for the UKCA. UK Conformity Assess mark on the if there is new control. Okay, this is fucking UK. Yeah, there's none. Mine is like, mine have Korean letters, so I'm assuming this is made in Korea. His have Russian. Or something like that. I hope I'm not wrong with this. So I'm assuming this is like EU version. I have the Asia version. I don't know. Every single one broke at the exact same spot. You know what's funny? I never had a PS controller that's broke out. That PS2 controller is the one that's the only... Well, I have two. But I never buy another new controller. Same as PS3 and PS4, so... Saying made in China in his video. No, for made, yeah, but I think it's more of like the design, I guess. Or like where is it being what's the word? Like distributed, the distributor. That's the word. Because mine also made in China. But instead of the Russian letter, I have the Korean letter. Like even the shape is different. Look at it. Like it's very different from him. It's too gray. Doesn't want to focus. But yeah. It's fucking Indonesian. Oh, so this G1 I guess is Indonesia distributed because this manual is Indonesian. So I'm assuming this is made, or this is like for, do they have specifically distribution for Indonesia? That's actually pretty fucking sick. Is the W one. W. W. Yeah. Well, EU stuff usually get Russian description sometimes. Then I guess this is like, I guess EU have EU distribution, and then Asia have Asia distribution. And this does have Korean. So I guess that's that. There is a month and year here, the December 2021. I'm assuming that's when this controller were made. And I'm assuming that's like the most recent one. Which is pretty cool. Which is pretty cool. Shit, why did I uninstall Rocket League? Now I kind of want to play him. Well, with this internet, I'm not gonna play Rocket League. All you guys can see is fucking pixels. But yeah, I guess what Saint said is pretty important as well. That's good to know. So yeah, you guys can just look at that. Or just buy from the official store. Don't buy it from some shady, you know, third party peeps. I bought from official store. Like, you don't really need some fancy store for this stuff like mouse. It's not like there's a custom PS5 controller. I mean, sure there is, but it's like, you know. You know. Ah. Okay. I think we good then, chat. I think we are good, brother. I'm gonna set a fucking alarm to install this game. Or I guess I'll just install this right away after this stream. My internet's so slow. The moment I start installing, it's gonna drop frames. Kaon! Have you played a game yet? I played 2. I played Undetected, which is a Metal Gear Solid inspired game, and Tower Princess, which is a game. I do feel like I want to play more, but I don't know what else to play right now. Do we just play some random ass Valorant game? Or Ready or... Nah, let's not play Ready or Not right now. I'm gonna scream like bitches. The thing is that right now my internet is ass, chat. Why is it 0? Am I disconnected? Hello? Okay, there we go. Like, right now my internet is so bad. I'm not playing any horror game right now. I don't want to scream at this hour. Ah! Yeah, look at this. Look at the speed. Wow, 1000 kilobit per second. Wow. That is so bad. Jesus Christ. Oh my fucking god. That is really, really bad. Hold up. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Okay. Leaked! It's not leaked. It's just ideas for drawing that I'm eventually gonna do. It was delivery optimization even if it was turned off. I know, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm assuming it's a scheduled one? I'm not too sure. But the one that was auto-downloading was this. I already put it in the unscheduled. It's still doing it. I don't know what is going on. Mods, fix it. No mods awake today. Sad. Okay, we're not playing any competitive game. My friend just was playing Valorant and he have 1,000 ping. We are not playing Valorant or any kind of competitive game. Nah. Oh my god, this shitty ass internet, dude. I'm gonna report back to my landlord tomorrow morning. Gibbon does what Gibbon wants. Exactly. What do I have? Ba, 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 ba. What can we play for, like, real quick? There's this stuff. I was thinking about trying this. We could. I want to continue medicine so bad, but let's wait for next Saturday. I don't want to scream on weekdays. That's bad. That's a bad idea. Satch that game. I remember. Last update 29. Actually, not included is pretty chill. I feel like if I start that now, I'm not gonna go to sleep for the next 2-3 hours. I don't play something that's like very short. Like a single game of Valorant is cool, but I don't think. You know. I wonder if crap game is still populated. This game is fucking hilarious. Holy, I have so many fucking games. Some of them I haven't even played. Amazing. Okay, let's check this one out real quick. Oxygen not included is chill until people start dying and you start running out of food. El clásico. Let's just give it a try on a deathmatch. If it's doable or not. If it's not, then let's not. Nothing fancy. Oh my god.